I love it when the screen says the broadcast is live. My name is Dan McCormick. We welcome you to the Greatest Salesman in the World podcast. Each and every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, I get the chance to interview the greatest salespeople in the world, no matter where they're at in the world. And I am so absolutely thrilled and fired up for our show today. And if you're new to the show, we please welcome live comments on the screen. We're on an app called StreamYard. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can certainly comment, tell us who you are, where you're from, and any comments you might have for our guest today, any working relationship, any knowledge, anything you want to say or ask or do. I also want to welcome you if you're new to the podcast at a later date. If you see or hear about us on one of the podcast apps at a later date, we certainly hope you'll like it, you'll review it, you'll share it. And today you can do the same. And you can also go to thegreatestsalesman.com. And that's our website where we post all of the broadcasts. This is episode number 38. My name is Dan McCormick. I had the very good fortune, 37, 8 years ago, when this book was put in my hand. I went to a network marketing meeting, and my sponsor said this book changed his life. And he gave it to me. I started reading it, and lo and behold, I discovered a philosophy for learning, living, and a philosophy that he wrote about. And it really had an impact on me. And so each and every week, on behalf of the Augmandino Company, I get to come and interview the greatest people each and every week. And to this week, hello, Colleen from Bellevue, my hometown. This week, I have from the fabulous Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, none other than Rebecca Morris. How are you today?
I am fabulous. Thanks for having me.
You got that smile and that glow about you. Something special going on in your life, maybe?
Oh, just the greatest thing ever. I get to marry my best friend in 2.5 weeks.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thank
We've
you.
known each other now for, I think, 7, 8, 9 years.
Yeah.
I've interviewed you one time below on another platform. This platform, I love to start from a value proposition. The way so many people are so busy in life today. I love to take the greatest salespeople in the world and say, if you look back now, you've been an entrepreneur in this world now 9 years, if I recall. Mm-hmm. What are 3 things that have shaped your life or each and every day of your life, if you could share with our listeners?
I would love it. I'm from a background as an athlete, and I know we'll talk about that in a little bit, but habits and just kind of the foundational or building blocks. So I just learned that from sports are just so important. And so when I became an entrepreneur, I had to find those same kind of building blocks. So for me, speaking of the athletic side, working out is a big one. I didn't for the first several years as an entrepreneur because I thought I didn't have the time. But honestly, what I found was when I made the time, it seemed like my time multiplied, to be honest, because when you take care of yourself, like my girls on my team know, like that's my me time. My phone's in the other room. I unplug. It's also the best brainstorming time. Like I come back with great ideas. At least I think they're great ideas. Yeah. Just all these different things. And so working out's a really big fundamental for me. And you get to find that time as an entrepreneur, whether that's you have to wake up a little bit earlier, whatever that may be. So that's a big one is I just learned and observed successful people in the industry. They take care of themselves. And I was always taught, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before other people. You'll be better for it, not just in the business, but as a person. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2 is my faith. That's always been a fundamental for my entire life. And especially in the entrepreneur world, I feel like the more, rooted you are and steadfast and where you feel you belong, the better that you can react to things, especially in entrepreneurship. There's a lot of things outside of your own scope that you can control. And I'm a control type A personality. So you can imagine how that can kind of throw that personality for a loop. Most of us can relate to that. So the more that you're rooted in something, I feel, in that faith and knowing where you stand, where you come from, all of that, I feel like the less things can affect you in a negative way because you know where you're from and where you are and who you are. And then the third one is I truly strive to find at least one person a day to just genuinely reach out and celebrate them, whether it's business wise or personally. maybe it's their birthday, maybe it's their kid's birthday. One of my best friends, her son turned 6. So I sent a voice message and said, this is for him. Make sure he hears this. And I think that's just something that not just helps them, but I found like it helps me personally. Just when you give, there's just such a brightness about life and about the day that comes from just doing that from a really genuine space.
Every week I'm amazed at those. That is fantastic. I love that word, to celebrate. I actually used it last week on one of my other shows, because that was, if you recall, I want to say it was 7 or 8 years ago, we had the guest speaker from National Geographic, DeWitt Jones, which is, to celebrate what's good in the world.
Yep.
And so I opened up the book that you and I spoke on our last interview, and that's the John Wooden book, because you made a post about it. And by the way, I think I saw last week you post about, like, I think you had your mat and your weights and your workout. I saw that post. And so I know you work out at home. But here's what I noticed when I opened this book today. Make each day your masterpiece.
I love that.
John Wooden talks about that. And this is your masterpiece. Every time I get to do a podcast, when I get to interview great salespeople, I mean, this is your masterpiece. And I'd love to dive into that, because when you grew up in athletics, when did soccer become all encompassing for you? Because I got a feeling intense and competitive, and losing is not an option.
It's not. We have a rule in our family I learned from my mom, so I now adopted as my rule, is we play till I win. and so that's hard when both of us are saying that.
Yes.
So yes, very competitive, and I never look at it as a bad thing. Strive to win always. Winning is fun, is what I tell people. So for me, honestly, that's a really big part. But to your question of masterpiece and where soccer really came about for me was, I'm an all or nothing kind of person. And so when I started into sports, soccer was the first one I really dug my teeth into. And so once I made that decision, I decide and I go for it. And I was not the best on my team. I started 8 years old, so that's actually a lot later than many kids start soccer. It tends to be about 4 or 5 years old. And so I was behind already. And what I found was I loved it. I had a coach that believed in me, though, really early on. And that kind of translates to network marketing and being that coach for people that believe in them even before they may be someone that sticks out, or the person that comes out of the gate strong, because that wasn't me in soccer. It wasn't me in network marketing either. But I'm a really hard worker. And so that's what I put into soccer and dug my teeth into. And I quickly learned where you could take soccer and go with it. And again, I play to win. And so I was like, I want to go play in college. That's my goal. And there's so many similarities between sports and entrepreneurship and network marketing. Is I set that goal as like a 10 or 11-year-old. You don't go to college till you're 18.
Right.
And so that's a goal that there's a lot of delayed gratification working up to that, and being coached and personally trained by people that have done that along the way for many, many years, building up to that. And then that goal was accomplished. But so soccer started very early on for me.
And then you grow into being one of the best. You get a college opportunity to play. And then after college, you're in the work environment, and all of a sudden this direct selling network marketing opportunity comes along. And tell us how that transition went for you.
Well, it was a bit rough at first, but similar to soccer, I saw the opportunity. I learned where it could go with a lot of hard work, just like with soccer. It's going to be a lot of hard work to develop up to that level. But I'm never afraid of the hard work if I believe that the return is worth it. And so when I started into network marketing, I was an accountant beforehand. So very introverted, like this is a totally different Rebecca than was before. And so I didn't start with the natural skill set that you would have assumed could be a success. But again, the work ethic was there, and never being afraid or fearful of the journey or the process that it will require. And so that's how it was introduced. It was introduced by some family members that you actually interviewed recently, Bill and Julie Toth.
They're listening.
Love
They're
the two of them. And so I got introduced through them, and I started to get my teeth further and further into the business. I started to learn more, and then you start to go through the process. Everybody has to learn skills in the business, and you bring different skill sets, different personalities. No one's me, no one's you, no one's Julie or Bill, et cetera, but we all can get there, because eventually you can learn skills and then you bring your own flair to it.
So John Wooden has this masterful thing called the pyramid of success, right? Mm-hmm. And you and I spoke about that on our interview a few years back, and you were impressed by that. I mean, that is truly one of the things that he's known for, and how he, and then of course, if I could have my producer put Bill's comment, and you put your socks on correctly. So talk to us about, how do you put your socks on correctly every single day?
Oh, I just love Bill. He's the greatest person in the world, I believe. Yeah. Don't tell Julie I said that, but she's right there too. No, anyway, for me, that comes back to some of the 3 points I talked about, how I start my day. Working out is like putting my socks on correctly, truly. I'm a morning person, and so I am just up. I have my routine. Even though I work from home, I work out from home. Like, I do everything from home, but I still make sure it gets done. I schedule it out. And so like this morning, I was up and my workout started at 7 a.m. and I get it in. Some days it doesn't happen till 10 a.m., but it's a non-negotiable in the day for me. And so for me, that's what helps me feel like I'm putting my best foot forward in the day as the best version of me for that day. Sometimes it may be something that like comes up and it kind of throws you for a loop, and you just kind of need to reset or ground yourself a bit. For me, that's just go for a walk or change your setting, get outside. There's so much about just putting yourself in a different surrounding. And it's ironic because that was my day yesterday, was something threw me for a complete loop. I had a bridal moment and I needed a new setting. And so I got a new setting. And working out helps with that. So
I love that so very much. And I love the comments. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in. Feel free to tell us who you are, where you're from. And if you know Rebecca, or if you work with her or anything like that, don't hesitate. I love the fact that you said non-negotiables. And so obviously, as an athlete, a highly competitive athlete, now transitioned to the entrepreneur world, obviously, you know about speed, because money loves speed, success loves speed, speed loves simplicity, everything about it, right? And so when you think about how John Wooden would teach each of those freshmen that first practice of each year, the whole team, how to put their socks on. And he had a specific training about that. The non-negotiables for you started when it came to self-help. When did the personal development type books hit you? I mean, as an athlete, it could be part of you or not, but in the entrepreneur world, it's kind of non-negotiable.
It is. And I had to learn that. I did not initially truly believe in it. I'll be honest. Yeah. It was about 3 years into my journey. Wow. And what I just learned, and the way I learned to phrase it, was I did as much as the current Rebecca could to that point in the business, but then Rebecca needed to level up. She needed to develop more. And so that's when that started to get introduced. And it actually was Bill, because he's the reader. Yes, and so he helped me start to get introduced to some books that did start to help me. And to be honest, working out to that degree started to come in at about year 4 of my business. So they kind of collided together. It was helping here, helping my body, all of the things. And for me, a couple of those books that really jump started it for me, the first and foremost one I'll always say is Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
Love it.
That one, I kept that one from Bill for a long time. He had to keep
Yeah.
asking for it back.
Yeah. Love it.
That one just spoke to me, and there was so much of it. And I have listened to it as an audiobook since then. And I think that's a really cool way to absorb it from a different sense as well. But the part of the book that really stood out was the be, do, and have portion, because I had heard those before. And to me, this is what switched. And this was part of the evolution that happened when reading that phrase. So sometimes it's just literally something like that, and it just clicks in a different way. But beforehand, I had heard do this, and then you can be, do, and have what you want. But versus when I read the book, what you find is he talks about start becoming so you can do, so you can have. And you change the process and the flow of which they start to occur. And that's what I started to learn is I had to start becoming now instead of waiting to become and hoping that I see the comment by Bill. He's outing me. I still do have his copy. It's in my living
another
room.
One he's got another comment. You see, there's the next one right there.
Don't tell everybody. Now nobody will loan me their books.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a big part that started to just give me this aha moment reading that book. And then I started to read other books. I read the Think and Grow Rich for Women as well. And then I started to read the 60-Second Millionaire. And there were several others that came through there, but it started this ripple effect, and then I couldn't get enough.
Yes.
And it wasn't that my business changed overnight though, but I started to change, and this evolution started to occur. Just the view or the lens that I looked at my business, that I looked at people in general shifted. There was more gratitude starting to come through things. And so eventually things did start to shift as well.
Man, that is so well said, especially for all those that are on the journey. I mean, for me, when I first read it, it was great. Yeah, my wife and I were making money, past our first million at 22, but it was 7 years for me before I really trusted all of it. And so I love your honesty about how long perhaps it took. Do you remember the first time you got one of those? The Greatest Secret or anything from Og Mandino? No?
I was honestly through your shows,
okay.
But I could not pinpoint one of them, but they all always collided for me. And just, I still have my notebooks from every one of those calls where I took the notes and absorbed, because that's how I learn, is writing it out, and then I retain.
Yeah. So back to your three things. I mean, habits, great. Faith, amazing. And I just love the fact that when did you develop the idea to celebrate at least one person a day? Because to me, obviously the world of direct selling, the world of selling, entrepreneurship, just being a better person, Og Mandino, everything he talks about, really, it's just about being a good friend to other people. When did that kind of become a mainstay for you?
Truthfully, I learned it from some of the girls on my team. That's a natural thing for them. And this is part of my competitiveness, that I had to learn that it's okay to learn from your own teammates. Yeah. Some of them are people I've been friends with for half my life. And so now they're on my team. One of them is Abby Gibson, and she is the best celebrator of people. Wow. And what I truly witnessed was that she had pure joy in that celebration of people, no matter what that was for people. And then it wasn't that I didn't enjoy that, but I just had to start coming from a different perspective and acknowledging that a win is a win. What I define as a win is different than what someone else may define as a win, but it's still a win. And so celebrate that for them. And when people feel loved and cherished, there's just a whole nother side of them. One, it starts to bring trustworthiness. They start to feel a sense of belonging and community as well. And when people feel really confident and comfortable where they're at, they start to just blossom. And so I watched her do that a little bit. And then I started to be like, and I started to do it. And then it just became the best joy to do that. And so I just started going, okay, let's look for something every day, whether it's something on a post that somebody does, or I observe them, or I happen to be looking at numbers and I just shout them out and say, girl, I know we don't talk very often, but I noticed you.
Yes.
And just know that your hard work is being noticed. And I can't tell you how far that goes with people.
Man, that is just like such a $1 million principle right there. I love having Fred Elias, who's been a guest on the show as well. One of the other greatest salespeople in the world, say celebrate it one person a day. That is so awesome. And I know that I learned that by Jim Rohn telling me that we were at a private millionaire group meeting in Bermuda, and he simply said, what would happen to your organization if you reached out to, this is before text, Facebook, and all, if you just reached out to 5 people a day that you had not met in your group? And so I started doing this, and the number one guy in the company whom my wife had sponsored, he called me and he said, hey, how do you do that? Because every time I talk to somebody, you've already talked to them, recognized them. And so my downline taught me that that was the right thing to do. It affirmed what I learned. And so it's great that both of us can learn from our teams. And you know, good news spreads and travels fast. Do you prefer a certain method? I mean, are you text? Are you messenger, voice, all of the above?
All of the above, but voice in whatever method it may be. Whether it's through Messenger on a social media platform or it's through texting, one way or another, voice, because I've just learned more and more people can truly get what you're trying to convey to them.
Yeah, that's really, really well said. I know that we have people that have jumped in. My name is Dan McCormick. She's the greatest salesperson in the world today on the show, Rebecca Morris from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. I'm pretty sure they can find you just typing in Rebecca Morris, as it says on the screen, on Facebook. If anybody wants to reach out to Rebecca as the greatest salesperson in the world today, on behalf of the Augmandino Company, let me just pause for a quick second. Welcome all of you. We're here every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, always searching for the greatest salespeople in the world. We hope you like the show, share the show, review the show, go to the podcast sites, download the show. I find it's very inspiring to listen to other people, especially Bill and Julie, when I need an animal update on all of the incredible tools of paradigms that they shared there. But on behalf of the Augmandino Company, one of the great things about this company, it's been a coaching company for over 20 years. And obviously, Aug wrote and coached in a way that few ever had. And so I'll just have my producer put our little cracking the social code. If anybody wants to now learn what our white hat hacker coaches, how he teaches you to make every algorithm on Facebook work, why you post, when you post, how you post, why you don't post, why you don't comment, you can simply go to habitfinder.com/social VIP to improve your pond and get into an ocean of those 2 billion people connected out there in the world of Facebook. So it's great to have you, Denise, from the UK. We've got people from all over the world here, Rebecca, and you never know who might hear this, whether it's today live or 6 weeks, 6 days, 6 years from now on one of the podcast sites. But I wonder, in your organization, what percentage is men and women or women and couples?
I would say like 95, 98% are women in my organization. We have a few couples, a couple of men, but it's predominantly women that we have grown with, and of all ages. But I would say there's a specific focus in that mid-20s to mid-40s. That 20-year span seems to be the majority of the organization, and we're just seeing so many women that are just so motivated to help their families, to help others. And there's just, again, there's this willingness to do what it takes to get what they want for their families and help people. Like they truly want to just share what they love. And it's just the funnest thing to see people do that over and over again and see them get so rewarded for doing all of that.
Yeah. Now you're achieving success at levels. I mean, the industry of network marketing might be 70 years old or so, 80 years old. You're achieving levels of success that put this tag on you above your head right now. It says the greatest salesman. You're the greatest salesperson in the world today. And I wonder how you take what you've learned. Do you have a systematic approach on how you then transfer your knowledge, your wisdom, your systematic approach to life, if you will, to your team as they join you?
Yes. Again, I'm from an accounting background. I'm very analytical and strategic and formulas if I can help it. And a lot of it, I learned how to translate it into business terms through Bill and Julie, because that's their MO, especially Julie. That's just what she's so great at. And so, yeah, we help boil it down, because I mean, don't people just want to know, if I do this, will I get this? And there's not always claims and guarantees and stuff, but being able to boil it down for people in really simple terms. And I learned that that's what leaders do, is you just simplify things and boil it down and strip it down to, what do you need to be doing today? Because network marketing is a daily business. And especially because I use social media, and so does my whole organization. Social media doesn't know when it's the weekend. It doesn't know it's Sunday. It doesn't know the difference between Thursday and a Monday. Like, so you need to have some kind of a daily presence in order to continue to expand and grow and connect and share. So we do have a systematic way of helping people learn based on whatever their goals may be.
Love that. Love that. So now you have this systematic approach. I love that you get down to the granularity of coming from the accounting background. Okay. So in the world of direct selling, a lot of times people will join a company because they see a product they like. And I have this one lady on my team that she says, Dan, I really don't have a product that I feel that much stronger about, but she says, I just love to recruit. So how have you found your energies, if you will, selling a product, getting your social retail customers, if you will, family, friends, neighbors, cold calls, whatever it might be, to recruiting? So how do you separate the two? Do you have one preference over the other?
I prefer the product and sharing it, honestly. And so does my team. They use a product and they share it. And it's simple. It's something that anyone can do that. And you find a product that connects to you. We live in a world of affiliate marketing nowadays, right? And so that's all it is a product. You share it and you get a kickback from it at the end of the day. So yeah, as simple as that. Some people like to overcomplicate it. And to me, I honestly say the product will do the rest for you. Just let them have a product.
Okay. So I buy your product. I love the product. What then might you say to me from the standpoint of transitioning to possibly a business opportunity?
It's as simple as, hey, if you loved it that much, I bet your friends do too. What if you could share it with them? And instead of me making it, you can. Yes. And it's as basic as that. And again, because it's such a common place now with affiliates, and you see bloggers doing it across various social media platforms. You don't have to just be on one specific one by any means. Right. They're used to that kind of a concept now.
Okay, I want to kind of transition here in closing, because I want to go back to the John Wooden pyramid of success and see, when you first saw that, obviously John has that foundational principles and things that he builds on throughout the pyramid, of course. And I'm wondering, how did that, because that's when you and I first met with respect to being on that last interview we did several years ago. Where did that come into your life? And is there something about that pyramid that is just maybe a part of your brain every day?
There is, and sometimes an unconscious kind of a way, not just at the forefront, because they're fundamentals. I have a picture of it right here off screen, and I could honestly read each of them and pull a piece and say, this connects to this part of my day or this part of my business or whatever that may be. And I would say, of the foundation, the 5 principles he's got there at the foundation: industriousness, friendship, loyalty, cooperation, and enthusiasm. I feel like we've talked about a lot of those, and those honestly are the fundamentals to a great team, whether that's an organization in network marketing, or that's a team in a different kind of business, or it's a sports team. Is when there's a team atmosphere, There's people that truly love and are loyal to each other. So the friendship, the loyalty, the cooperation, and there's an enthusiasm about what the team's doing. Like that energy meshes together. And then you start to build on that with the how to from there. And that's honestly some of the principles that shifted in my business as I started to evolve as well, was starting to find this, because the first part of my journey was about me. It was just point blank. I made it about me. That was part of the bad side of the competitive nature of me. I have to win, versus I learned that we all can win. And so the team can win as a collection, as well as each player on the team itself. And so back to that, the foundation, I just love it. Again, I could point to so many things in my business for each one of those. I feel like we could spend an hour on each one of these pieces because it's so brilliant. But as you see, as it starts to go up to the third level, there's where the skill comes in. So skill isn't necessarily one of the absolute fundamentals. And that goes back to my story, is I didn't necessarily have the skills. I had the work ethic. And so again, looking for people from that kind of a lens of desire. And it's not your job to motivate people, but who's coming with their own motivation, their own drive. You can teach skills and how to anybody.
You know, I don't, we didn't talk before the show today, and I didn't ask you this, but I'm going to just guess, as this competitive athlete, that maybe Monday night you were watching a particular basketball game. Is there a chance you watched the basketball game on Monday night?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting as we look at this pyramid. For those that are not following, I didn't put it up on the screen. I apologize, but you can type in John Wooden Pyramid of Success, and you can really feel that basketball team had that. I mean, I almost got goosebumps just thinking about you, thinking about Baylor, industriousness, friendship. You could feel their love for one another, their loyalty to their coach, their university, their mission, cooperation, and all the things you're talking about. But wow, did they have skills?
And there's other teams that may have more skills. I mean, they weren't the top ranked team coming into all of it. Great. Other teams were. And have to give a shout out to Julie. She's a Baylor alum. She's been all about it this whole time. Ironically, I'm wearing their color. I didn't know that I was going to be connected to Baylor today. But no, it's so true. And you see that so often in sports, is how often does the true most skilled, talented team win? Not all the time. I'm a huge New England Patriots fan. Okay. Tom Brady was never rated the top quarterback ever. Some still don't rate him as the best ever. And neither were the teams that won the Super Bowls most of the years, because we've won a lot. I'm just saying. But same concept. There was a loyalty within each of those teams that would go on to win the Super Bowl. And the skill came later. Bill Belichick's one of the best at teaching that, but he found players that could connect on a team level first. That's why I think he's the most brilliant coach in football ever. I'm a big football girl, so that's my personal opinion. And Nick Saban's the same way. That's why you see that with the University of Alabama football team. So to draw comparisons to Baylor, it's the same concept. Is oftentimes the best teams truly as a unit are what will win championships, and because the skills come after that.
And the great thing about network marketing is that everybody can win. I mean,
exactly.
in football or basketball, I mean, there's only one at the end of the year, but everyone can win here. And I'm looking at this very top one on the pyramid, and that's competitive greatness. And that's the very peak of the pyramid. It comes from all those foundational building blocks, and then your energy and your systems and your the things that you mentioned, your habits and so on. So, man, I love it. You're the first person in 38 episodes to talk about the John Wooden Pyramid of Success. And I know that's a big deal. And I think it's very, very applicable, maybe more so than any other self-help book outside of The Greatest Salesman, is how you build that culture within your team. So now we talk about that. Is there a scroll that comes to mind?
There is. And so for me, it was, I mean, there's so many, right? I feel like any of them are applicable. But one of them I've really learned, and some might not think that this would be one of them, but I will act now.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, she's going to pick I Will Act Now.
Yeah, you might be the only one. But I will be honest, when I first started this business, I would have never said that about me. Okay, I love it. But that's become my nature, is if I don't go now, then when? So if I'm thinking about it now, I need to do it. And it just means I've learned, part of what it means is I have learned to follow those instincts. So something's come around and you do it. One of my favorite quotes goes with this. It's actually by Taylor Swift, which is funny.
That's great.
But the quote is, being fearless is not being 100% not without fear. It's being fearless, but taking that leap anyway. And that's something I can definitely say. When I started with network marketing, that was how I was I'm going to act now. I'll figure it out as I go. Even though that's not my normal nature. Same kind of thing as I have progressed in my business and making decisions along the way. Act now, I'll figure it out later, because I know that's what I want. Honestly, with how I met my soon-to-be husband, we met on a dating app. That's not something I would normally do, but I acted on it and I'll figure it out later. And here we are, we're about to get married. And so it's just, sometimes you have to follow those nudges. Sometimes it comes from something that someone says. Sometimes it's just something you have observed. But truly, I just believe, why wait? Because it's the cliche quote of, there's no better time than now. If you're waiting for the perfect time, there's no such thing.
That is so cool that you picked that, because I heard a story when I was 19. And I heard a story about two 22-year-old kids that would go out to the malls and just invite people to their meeting, because obviously everything was in a hotel 38 years ago. And they were making $5,000 a month just inviting people to a weight loss business opportunity meeting. And so I thought I would do the same. And my sponsor goes to Nordstrom's with me at the Bell Square Mall in Bellevue, Washington. We're walking up to the counter. And as I got closer to the counter, I looked at my sponsor, who was the furthest thing from a handsome man. I mean, he had hair right here, kind of like I do now. He was kind of heavy, but I didn't know anything. And I just looked at him and I said, Dennis, this lady looks like somebody that would like to make $10,000 a month. I didn't know what to say, but she leaned forward and crossed her arms on the glass counters with all the cosmetics and everything. And she said, you bet your life I would. How would I do that? And so I will act now, the do it now queen right there that Bill's putting on. I am so glad you brought that up. And here's what Og says in that scroll in the last paragraph. Success will not wait. If I delay, she will become betrothed to another and lost to me forever. I will act now. So what an honor to be with you. How about a closing comment? Because, I mean, your wisdom here today is just so amazing. The comments are amazing. I just love hearing what people have to say. Took you a few years to find your rhythm. Some people, it takes longer. And the frustrations build. How do you help people stay on the path when maybe they're not where they want to be just yet?
So I truly love seeing people when they're in that spot, because I know what it looks like on the breakthrough side of it. And I know the feeling. And I believe everyone should be able to experience that. I also believe that I went through it. I learned this from a mentor of mine too. You go through different chapters in your journey because you're going to be able to turn around and help someone else through something similar. So I never wish my first part of my journey away, because I wouldn't be able to relate. Wow. And so if you start to shift that, and this was part of that, about that 3-year mark. So same time personal development was starting for me, this was being said to me also, is start to look at these different chapters as just a tool in your tool belt for later. And that probably one thing or another that's going to occur during this phase is something you're going to talk the most about with people. And truly, this is what I help the most people through, is that process of learning the skills and then taking the time and truly just having the patience and then trusting the process. And so that's the biggest thing I can tell people is, one, trust the process, trust your coaches that they've got your best interest at heart. They're not telling you something they don't believe in is going to help you. And then also trust yourself. Trust that you have made the decision to be where you're at, and that it was a wise and smart decision for you. And then do the work and trust the pieces I just talked about. It will come together for you. Never put a timetable on it. For me, it felt like an eternity, but in the grand scheme of things, it really wasn't. It could have been 2, 3, 4, 10 times as long. But at the end of the day, you will be able to help somebody through whatever you're going through, whatever outside forces you may be bringing in while you're working your business. That also will be something you'll be able to help somebody, show them how you did all of that during whatever the outside and the business forces were that work together.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you giving that so much thought, because I really, like you, we really want to see everybody win. I mean, we just love that. We love celebrating the wins, but we know that sometimes we have to go down the mountain to cavern before we go up the other side. Now, I did not call your sponsor before this show, but had I called your sponsor before the show, he said to me when I was interviewing Nathan Ricks at the kickoff podcast of the year, somebody you know, ask him, what do you want to be remembered by?
That sounds like a Bill question.
That sounds like a Bill question. So let's close with that, since I asked him if I could interview you. Let's say, Rebecca, what do you want to be remembered by?
You know, at this stage where I'm at now, it's not even about my own personal accomplishments anymore. It truly is how many people I've helped have the same life-changing experiences. And again, my life-changing experience is defined differently than what everyone else's is going to be defined as. So whatever their life changer is, helping them achieve that and helping as many people achieve that as possible. And then I would add a second one.
Please.
So like a 1A and a 1B is the 1B is that she truly made people feel loved and wanted and cherished.
And that is scroll number 2, right? I will greet this day with love in my heart. Muscle can split a shield and even destroy life, but only the unseen power of love can open the hearts of all the people that are watching today or in the future. And Rebecca, I seriously love you being willing to share. Bill saying, sure, let me ask her. I mean, we're not in the same team, so we don't converse every day, but I just feel like you're just blooming. You're just blooming. You just have so much to give. So many. I'm looking at these comments and I just think, I don't know Denise Brims, maybe she's on your team, but look at these comments. I mean, Pam Vickers saying, do not stop. I could listen all evening. There's Bill. Bill saying, what a great question.
He's ever like, whoever said that's a genius.
A genius. Oh my gosh. I wish I could give him a big hug right now.
Yes.
Well,
I'll give him a hug for you in a couple weeks when I see him at the wedding.
I think he'll be there at the wedding.
He will.
You're going to have a great time. It's great to be with you, Denise. Rebecca, continued success. Thank you so much for your genuine authenticity. It's been great to have you on episode number 38. She's in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, as one of the greatest salespeople in the world. I'm Dan McCormick on behalf of the Augmentino Company. Go out and make it the greatest day of your life, and bye for now.